Could you share with us your journey into pharmacy and what inspired your path in research and academia?
And thank you very much for the invitations. My name is Mai, or you can call me Chun Wai. So currently, I'm a professor in IMU University, which is one of the leading private universities in Malaysia. Um, so I actually started my B Farm program in this same university about close to 20 years ago, I think. Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah, I started that. Then once I'm very interested in drugs, how it works and how medication work. That's how I started my B Pharm degree. So upon finishing my degree, I was posted to work in a hospital for my provisional registered pharmacist training. So some country would call it pre-reg or equivalent to the houseman. So during that times, I was pretty upset in a way that whatever we have learned so far doesn't seem to be able to translate to patient. So when we are managing our patients, they still suffer with a lot of side effect problems. The drugs are not effective enough, especially in terms of cancer treatment. So I've decided to take up my postgraduate study. I got a scholarship from the same university that I graduated from, IMU University. So to start my PhD, so I was delved into how drugs it works. Um, so this is about 15 years ago. Uh, we our team were very fascinated about how immune systems was able to regulate the cancer. So that was way before we start talk about immunotherapy. Our teams already start to look at whether immune systems was working coherently or against our cancer. So that's how I started my PhD, looking at drugs that can actually activate the immune system at the same time turn down the cancer's immune response. So that's my journey. And until now, I'm still working on cancer immunology in the areas of how the immune systems, when they overactivated, how can we shut them down? And how can we also manage the cancers during that time? So that's my overall journeys in my pharmacy career and until now what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You're sounding like a very cool pharmacist, researcher. Like it's pretty interesting. And to see how far you've had your journey in IMU University, you seem
Mm.
to be like a very good alumni of the school. So just getting to know you more, what do you enjoy most about your current role, about being a researcher or being in academics?
Well, being a researcher and academics, it gives me a lot of opportunity to work on a lot of things on the side. So I was also active in the Malaysian Pharmacy Society. At that junctions, we have the Young Pharmacy chapters. I think these chapters was formed way even earlier than ECPG because I remember when we were presenting our chapters to early career pharmacists, then the FIP was liking this idea, and then that's why the ECPG, Early Career Pharmacist, was also uh, formed. I was already active in the Malaysian Pharmacy Society, the Young Pharmacy chapter. We get a lot of chance to meet a lot of people's industry community, and that's how I get acquaintance to volunteering in Pharmacy Society. And in 2018, I got the FIP Congress Travel Award. So that was my first time exposed to FIP. And now, fast forward, 2023, I was awarded the FIP uh, Early Career Pharmacy, Pharmaceutical Scientist, I think. Yeah, can't remember exactly the words. Yeah, so basically is to recognize scientists that as in the early career stages that is focusing on pharmaceutical sciences. So so this actually gave me a lot of opportunity to also work on internationally. because FIP is an international platform that opened up a lot of my career to work with people around the globe. And currently, I'm sitting as the deputy chair for the FIP UNESCO UniTwin in the Western Pacific. So UniTwin
Wow.
is actually a new initiative under FIP. So we focus on collaborations around the for us is Western Pacific region, and particularly on the academic institution membership member. So which means all the pharmacy school. So we have a lot of exciting journeys and also programs that's coming up. Um, that's why I say being an academic and a researcher opens up a lot of dimensions and things that I can do beyond on my research field, which is collaborations and cooperations with peoples around the world, and focusing on how do we make the professions even better. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. And it's really interesting, all of what you're involved in. So talking about collaborations, I would want to ask, what role has mentorship played in your journey so far as a pharmacist, as a researcher, as an academia? What role has mentorship played?
Mm. So I remember when I was receiving the award from FIP 2023 at Brisbane's, I mentioned on the stage that if without my mentors, I won't be standing where I am today. So I'm very grateful to a lot of people that actually helped me throughout my career. Some of them are pharmacists, some of them are not. Um, the pharmacists in my seniors or my mentors, they show me the way that being active in the societies and being active in doing what you like as a profession, and that's where your career can actually bloom very well. And the non-pharmacist mentors are the ones showing me how to manage things that is beyond pharmacists. So a lot of times we pharmacists really think that from the pharmacy perspective only. We're always very narrow in our way of thinking. It's always drugs, 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 drugs. So my research mentor is not a pharmacist, but he guide me on how to tackle issues that a little bit beyond pharmacy, but at the end, when you see things from a broader, a bigger perspective, that's how you can actually tackle the issues better. So I'm still very much involving in drug discovery, drug design, but from the molecular perspective, like pharmacogenomics, AIs, and stuff like that, that is a, lit a little bit beyond what we usually pharmacy would touch. But those skills help me to actually do my job better and also expand my research a little bit better. And now, being a professor in universities, that's why my motto is always on mentoring the newer generations, the early careers researchers or my juniors, to ensure that they have a right platform for them to shine, to harness their skills and to develop their potential. I work with a lot of young pharmacists and also the non-pharmacists, but they are the young scientists to actually develop their career. So if you ask me, I would say the only things will help anybody to excel in their career is to find a right mentor.
So now my question would be, what are the practical ways that early career pharmacists can seek out, or build mentorship both within their regions and probably outside of their region?
Well, you can see from my career, if you take it as an example, I was introduced to the National Pharmacy Societies, which is the Malaysian Pharmacy Society, by my mentor, because they say you should involve in professional society, champion and advocate for pharmacy profession. So I was going in with an open eye that yeah, let's see what I can do. So the first thing, if an early career persons wanted to reach out, the National Pharmacy Society is the place that you can start. Yeah, because they usually they see you more frequently because of the geographical location. They will be able to provide you more practical guidance and support. Then once you establish your foot and you have a group of friends, peoples or peers that you work on a common cause or on committees or projects, and once you be more comfortable with this space, that's where you can explore internationally. So, like being part of FIP or ECPG, I was started with ECPG as well. So I was one of the liaisons in the between the ECPG and BPS because of my nature of the work. So I support the Board of Pharmaceutical Sciences. So I was their liaison. So because of that, now I'm also very close to the BPS team. I'm supporting the BPS in a lot of their works. Um, at the same time, that's when I met a lot of good mentors from BPS. And because of my natures as an academician, so I also receive a lot of support from the academic sections for FIP. So if you ask me where and how, the easiest job is join the national societies and also be
Yeah.
active in FIP. FIP is an excellent platform for everyone.
Yeah, I get it. You said we should champion and we should be active in championing and advocating for the pharmacy profession. I really liked how you put that. So probably this is just a question on the side. Can
Mm.
pharmacists reach out to you for mentorship? Are you open to mentor pharmacists both within your region and probably outside of your region?
Yeah, definitely. Even though I actually switched from institution to institution in between. During the COVID pandemic, I was in China actually for my sabbatical leave, and then once I moved back to Malaysia, I was in with another institute, and only recently I came back to IMU University. So I met a lot of people in between, even though they are no longer my students, or they could be the peoples that I met in the society or FIP. I received a lot of requests on guidance and stuff like that. So I actually provide those sharing to the best knowledge I can, because sometimes different country, different region, different professions will still have a lot of variations. But usually, if I cannot answer those kind of query, I will divert them to the respective people. Yeah. So at least they
Thank
get
you.
something from me.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So thank you so much. So back to your area of practice. In what ways do you see pharmacy evolving with advances in cancer biology or cancer immunology and precision medicine? How do you think that is going to probably shape or affect the day-to-day pharmacy activities?
Um, Pharmacies definitely have a very important role to play. Like for example, in cancer biology, we talk a lot about drug resistance. We talk a lot about drug side effect. We talk a lot about drugs is not being dosed properly. All these issues will arise because of usually there wasn't a pharmacist there to advise on those areas. And if there is an oncology clinical pharmacist, or there is somebody who is from the pharmacy background is there to support, usually all these issues can be avoided. So if you ask me the how pharmacists can help in the areas for especially cancer precision medicines, the most important part is you must get a pharmacist involved in the team when coming to the treatments and also side effect management. That's the first step. The second step is when we have a pharmacist involved, then your drug kind of issues are quite pretty much settled. So the next set of issues will arise will likely be how can you make it better? Like how can we prolong the patient's survivals, and how can we optimize the drugs based on every patient's personalized medicine. So that's where new tools are coming in, like sequencing, pharmacogenomics, and liquid biopsies, and also things like that. We can actually look at patient cells nowadays and patient genome, And based on that, we tailored the drug regimens accordingly. So that's where all the personalized medicines come in. And FIP have released a lot of frameworks and also toolkits as well on this particular area. And you can see how pharmacies is always in the central where the experts coming in. So we can advise on that. So I'm also involving developing services and things like that related to pharmacogenomics and cancer biology's detection. And for that areas, they need a lot of pharmacist input and data interpretations. Like for example, the most easiest way pharmacists involved is what are the drugs that's available in the country. Because from the genomic database, usually it will tell you every drug that's available around the world, but not every drug will be available or accessible by the patient in the country. So that's where we come in to streamline the protocols and the drug of choice and the available drug for the patient. So they become practical and relevant to the local setting. So if you want to do a research on that, so we will need to also prioritize the drugs that is available in the country. There's no point to work on drugs that is not available for your patient, even though they are the most bombastic drug. That goes to also the drugs that is super expensive. Yes, they are probably be available for the best treatments in the experiments or the study. But at the end of the day, if patients cannot afford to pay for those treatments for a particular duration of time, patient likely to be drop out from the treatment and the drug will no longer be useful. And the worst thing scenario, money has been wasted and patients are suffering the side effect. So that's where you need a pharmacist to come in to plan the whole things from the research point of view, as well as for the end where the patients are receiving the treatment.
Pretty interesting. So talking about research, I know you said you went back after your pre-reg to get
Mm.
a graduate degree and you got into research. How would you probably advise pharmacy educators to sort of integrate research early into the pharmacy curriculum? Because a lot of pharmacists, I know this could be different for different regions, but a lot of pharmacists go through pharmacy school. They learn all of the clinical topics and whatnot, and then never exposed to research. And so there's a big gap between what you know as a clinical pharmacist and what is happening in the research space. So how would you advise pharmacy educators to try to integrate probably a bit of research into the pharmacy curricula?
Um, to be honest, if you ask me as an educator, I always see that even the practicals that we are doing, when you are trying to gathering information, there is a form of research that is going on. It's just that the kind of research is not usually the groundbreaking one. It's just that involving some of the critical thinkings and the way you analyze and gathering information. So the research components have already been embedded in all our curriculum, even as early as year one. It's just that most of us don't realize, and most of the students, if you don't tell them this is a research skill, they will probably not brand them as research. They will think that research is only in the final year, which is actually not true because a lot of times when I was teaching the year one students, I was telling them, why do you need to go and look for information for your practical reports and for your problem-based learning or for your workshop? It's because we are developing your critical thinking skill. That is critical enough as a research skill. But having said so, I know where you're coming from. We have also debated a lot about where we supposed to integrate research in our usual undergraduate program. I'm actually very fortunate to some extent. The program that I was started, the IMU B-Pharm Bachelor Pharmacy program, we have actually a dedicated semester for research, which means that semester we don't do any classes, practicals or theories and stuff like that. We only focus on research. Let's say you take a research on lab base, the whole semester, which means about 3 to 4 months, your day in and day out, every day is about doing the lab. So you can actually focus on doing the research in that particular semester. This is actually at the year 4 semester 1. That means not the final semester before you graduate, but the semester right before you're going for your posting. So that gives us a lot of time and energy to focus on research. That is actually a very good model. In fact, until today, IMU is still doing that model where students have a dedicated 4 semesters, 4 weeks, 4 months, sorry, 1 semester to complete the research project. If you do a survey or practical or epidemiology related study, also the same. You get the dedicated for the whole semesters to do that. And at the same time, this is also a compulsory subject, which means everybody have to take it. So in that way, everyone will go through this, and every graduate will have these skills in terms of research. I understand that this is not the norm, because when I was moving around from institution to institution, there are some institutions that don't actually enforce research as a compulsory subject. So it's like an elective. You can take it or you don't take it. And a lot of times you are taking it when you are still have to going for your classes and finishing your reports, project and stuff like that. So that actually get diluted the research component, and that's the reasons why I think the research is not very ready for everyone in the curriculum. Um, we are also looking at how to improve in terms of curriculums from the unity point of view, because we talk a lot about patient safety, we talk a lot about competency development. FIP also have the same agenda. And if you ask me, if I can change, obviously I would strongly recommend a full dedicated semester for research that will help the students to learn. But not all students will have the level, the luxuries to go through that. So for those of them who want to explore research, the easiest way to do is during the semester break, you can contact your professors in your respective university and express your interest to find out more about research. So because it is during the sem break, so you practically don't have anything going on, and the professors or the academic staff are usually a bit more free. So if they have ongoing project, they will not be minded to have you as an interns or research assistant during that time. So that's where you can actually harness your skill and also ask yourselves whether this is the place or space for you to actually go into research. Yeah. So I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, very well. Way more than I expected. So I think what the striking thing for me was you mentioning that all of the laboratory work we have to do from first years, it's part of research. So I went through pharmacy school not realizing that all of those could count as research. So thank you very much for pointing that out. So now I want to ask, you spoke about AI, you spoke about genomics, but I'm very concerned about artificial intelligence. And from your point of view as a researcher and as an academician, where do you see the most opportunity for pharmacists, for early career pharmacists to lead in artificial intelligence-driven healthcare innovation? How can pharmacists, join this moving trend? How can they incorporate it into pharmacy practice? What can young early career pharmacists start doing to make themselves relevant in this age of artificial intelligence?
Actually, AI is not something to be feared about. I was doing some consultancy work when I was in China. So what I was doing is 2020 when all this AI generative image was not very hot, was just at the beginning. So I was asked by a company to involve in testing their prompt. You know how now ChatGPT can generate image because
Yeah.
of the prompts that you were using. So I
Mhm.
was testing their prompt, which means I was use a lot of words to describe what I want at the end of the picture, but with the intentions of designing a product packaging. So the task was given to me was to design a probiotics packaging,
Wow.
because for a non-pharmacist persons who wrote the programs, computer science people, they don't know how to actually present probiotics to layperson.
Yeah.
So they have tried a lot of prompts, like they put microbes, they put stuff and stuff like that. at the end, the image just doesn't gel up. Doesn't it looks very horrible because you put stomach, you put intestine, you put microbes, all this, it will become a very horrible pictures. So end up, I was using the words cactus. So if you imagine cactus, it is like a microbes like that, but in the cute forms and stuff like that. So end up the prompts turn out to be very nice, and it looks like our microenvironments in the testing. If I don't tell you the prompts I use were cactus, you will never seen it. And of course, because of the flaws of their AI powers was not that good compared to now today's. So the image generated out, it looks like a microenvironment, but it's a friendly, happy, and that's how it presents. So what I was trying to use this as an example is I also know that I can do things like that as well, because AI generating image is something totally alien to me as well. But I was approached by my friends because they know I'm a pharmacist. They said, why don't you try this and let me know how you feel about it? And then because at the other end, the users were saying they don't know how to use it to generate the image. So I helped them to solve these issues. What I'm trying to say is don't limit yourselves by saying by defined by the discipline, and this is the only things that pharmacy can do. Actually, pharmacy can do way beyond what defined by your curriculum. Like I was doing AI generating image with something that I also don't know I can do, but eventually I was quite good at that. Eventually, the product was launched in China. We have a massive project launch, and then even the banner and flyers and everything was generated from my prompt. The second things I was trying to say is there's a lot of pharmacies actually self-learn codings and AIs, programmings and stuff like that. So they are pretty very well versed with that, even better than a lot of the programmers because they understand what pharmacists need. So for example, the drug, patients' medication histories and stuff like that. So they do very well in that. And I seen quite a lot of pharmacists actually doing very well in this digital health space. Coming to AI, pharmacogenomics, and drug discoveries and things like that, being the persons who understand drugs very well will help you to actually analyze the data better. Not to say that a scientist would not be able to do that. They will, but they will take some time for them to learn, and they probably take maybe a year or two to bridge the gap. But a pharmacist will be able to reach this faster. So any early career pharmacists who are interested in leveraging on genomic space and AI and stuff like that, I would suggest you to go in this now where the field is growing, and that's where you can actually establish yourselves in there. Yeah. So the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is just don't limit yourselves to what was defined by your curriculum, and pharmacists can actually do a lot of wonders. You'll be surprised because our curriculums train us from the anatomy, physiology, drugs, and disease management. It's actually quite holistic. And some of us also have like business component, industry, and the others so-called non-typical pharmacy job. And that's why when you graduate from a pharmacy program, usually you're actually well versed with everything. It's just that the potentials, what is your potential and strength? That part you need to discover yourself.
Wow, thank you very much. So I think you're advising pharmacists to look beyond just clinical practice, challenge
Yeah.
themselves to learn new things and to remain relevant. Yeah, that is
Mm.
pretty. That is a very good advice. So thank you so much for your time. So one other question for you will be, what advice? I know you've given a lot of advices already, but then I'll just ask, what advice would you give to early career pharmacists who aspire to make meaningful impact in pharmacy education or cancer research, and probably they don't know how. They just want to be very useful outside of clinical practice, but they're like, where do I start from? What do I do next? How do I start? What advice would you give to them?
Well, the first thing to do is join FIP. I think that is the very first thing to do. Because
Yeah.
there's a reason for that. Because when you join in, you are part of the system, you're part of the ecosystems that have the support network. Um, I still remember the first time when I was in FIP. Uh, I because coming from a PhD students who just started finishing their study, to pay for the section dinner is a big lump sum of money. I think those of you who have attended section dinner, you know that that was quite expensive things to do. But I was very lucky. One of the very senior pharmacists, actually I can't remember her name now. She looked at me and then she asked me, "Are you joining tonight dinners?" I said, no, I didn't buy the tickets. So she said, no, 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 come. I have extra tickets. You just come along with me. So from that dinners, I was introduced with a lot of people that and that kind of network. But I was quite lucky because she understands my financial constraint at that moment, and she sponsors me to attend the dinner. And of course, she introduced me and take me under her wing, and that's how I get to know quite a lot of people's. And as that's why I say the first thing to do is join the
Right.
FIP. But after you join, and that's the part that that's very important as well. You have to be active. You have to seek out and offer yourself to the peoples and what are the things you can do. But don't overly do it until you burn yourself. But
Yeah.
do it moderately and within your space and what you can do. Then when you are active, your opportunities is enormous. You can actually get a lot of things that you can be leveraging on, or the strengths or skills that you can actually strengthen to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then just enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Mai. It's been a very interesting time with you, learning about your journey and all of the numerous advices you've given to early career pharmacists. As we close up, what is one advice you could give your younger self? What is one career advice you could give your younger self if you had the opportunity to?
Well, I wish I joined the FIP much earlier. Yeah, I was only exposed to that when I applied for the travel award. So that was actually quite late, you know. Uh, but find a right mentors for your career will be the last advice that I would give to anybody. Because anybody will come to me, I always say that you need to find a mentor, not necessarily me. When they was talking to me, I was also telling them, not necessarily the person would be me. You have to find a mentors that you can sing very well and they can work collaboratively with you and the persons who are you are comfortable with. So then your career will take off very well. Because I also seen a lot of early career pharmacists, their career was stagnant or not able to take off because
Yeah.
they don't have a very good mentors that was mentoring them, or the mentors are not doing the right job as mentoring the juniors. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's my
Thank you.
last advice.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Amai. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. We truly appreciate your contribution to the FIP ECPG community, and we hope to have you again sometime. So thank you very much, and yeah, have a good rest of your day for myself, Ibere, and every other member of the FIP ECPG team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to add two more questions. We will release to this part on our YouTube, and after record, I want to ask two more questions because maybe we use the answers for our um proposed research, which is not yet approved, but I would like to use this opportunity. Um, it's about universal health coverage, and I wanted to
Mm.
ask you, how can academia, pharmacists, researchers in specific and expertized fields like oncology contribute to UHC development? How can they integrate and embed the concept of UHC in pharmacy research and pharmacist mind? Because we are, we do a lot of things as a pharmacist, but we are very far away from the concept, and we do not have the perspective of the health, public health, and how we can contribute more to it, and how we can make health more equitable. So, can you just, from your point of view, tell us how can researcher and academia contribute to this, and how can we make this contribution more and strengthen it?
Yeah, thank you for the question, sir. So definitely is an important aspect, because when we want to draft a policies as important as those university health coverage and stuff like that, so you need a lot of data. And who is better to gather data is always the researchers and academicians. And we are those who are involving in pharmacoeconomics usually is the one who be first asked because they are very good with those parameters and numbers. And at the same time, those who are working in administrative pharmacy field, they are the one who know what is going on and the policy related impacts. So those are the ones that will usually will do a lot of data gatherings and policy reviews, and then they compile and then write out the recommendations. But at the same time, researchers like us, like I'm working on these pharmacogenomic platforms and stuff like that. The biggest questions they always ask in the paper that I published also, it was asking who is going to pay for this platforms, and are you going to bill it to the patients, or are you going to ask the national health insurance to cover? And this debate is always there. Yeah. So some says that the patients should pay for it because this is only personalized and it's not part of the system. And that's why we need to evaluate, like, how much are we talking about? Is that platform very expensive that is going to cost a lot of money to the government, or is that platform is very cheap and affordable, and where customers can actually pay for it without a big pinch in their pocket. So for researchers like us, our aim is definitely have to narrow down our platform to the very affordable material, and also the number of genes that we are talking about. Maybe I can trim down to those non-essential genes, I can take it out. Then the cost of the platforms or service will actually drop.
Mhm.
So in terms of developing of the tools, the scientists usually involving in optimizing the platform or the tools or the prototypes so that it is become affordable. And affordable has to be the questions that we always bear in mind. So there's, like just now I mentioned, there's no point for you to develop a drugs that is cost millions of a big bump and nobody can afford to pay for it. So that's why when we bidding for grant or a lot of fundings agencies nowadays also request us to actually justify in terms of cost and economics point of view, and also what's our plans to market the prototype and how much the prototype will cost. So those are things is always in the considerations when we develop the prototype. And that's how we contribute to the supports of the universal health coverage. But in terms of big policy, then definitely we need researchers in the pharmacy practice and economics to review this as a bigger scope, and then they propose this as a policy to the governments or the nation. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks very much. So, to summarize and to make sure that I understand, first, you as scientists, we do make drugs available, and then to do our contribution meaningful, we should make it affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Thanks a lot, and thanks
Mm.
again for accepting our invitation. And I hope to see you in person soon. And thank you, Ebre, for the great interview. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, if there is nothing to add, and if there isn't anything you would like to share with us, I think that we can call it a successful session and end it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks all. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Okay.